I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I was five-generation family in Boston. I'm here in San Antonio because I fell in love with the place and want to raise my son here now, who's a year old Friday. So yes, I was a little late in having him. Thank you very much. My dad died when I was 4. I have very few memories of him. I had a very lovely aunt who was his sister, who was 20 years older than he was, and she was really my grandparent. Both my grandparents on his side died. One died in 37 and one died in 57, so they predated me. Although we grew up Orthodox, we had sort of our own set of rules for all kinds of different things. The house was strictly kosher, but outside the house wasn't exactly kosher, but you didn't eat pork or shellfish, but in mixed meat and cheese. But basically it was a very traditional household, but really not 100% observant of all of the detail of orthodoxy. More akin to a reform household. I didn't get it. I just kind of left it, and it came back and found me through an amazing series of miracles. My connection with Rabbi Block here at Chabad, and learning about my grandfather's history, being interested in the books he was reading, and also helping to create a Jewish identity for my nephew Max, who speaks Hebrew, reads Hebrew, has gone to Israel, could probably be a Hebrew teacher if he wanted, so chose to be. And I didn't really think that I held the mantle of responsibility, but when his parents got divorced and his dad needed some help with that piece of it, I stepped up. And that led to me eventually having my son. So it was very transformative. I think learning about all the family history and finding out what an amazing past we had, and that here was that the family knew all this, and that I can't be the end of the line. I can't break that chain. You know, if you look at Temple Bethel's dome, in the red tile, there's a chain around it, the unbroken chain. So that's very important to pass on not just the history, but the heritage and the things like I say a prayer in Yiddish to my son every night. God knows how many centuries it's been in our family. Ich hoffe auf Sustain, Gesundheit Vita mit alle meine Glitter. Didn't know what it meant for 40 years of my life. It means I hope to wake up in the morning with all my senses, in good health with all my senses. But, you know, I do a lot of things now that were passed on. I light the candles on Friday night. I use the candlesticks that were my grandmother's. I use the candle and my great-great-grandmother's. I use Kiddush cup that's one cup that's 150 years old, one cup maybe 300 years old. I don't really know. I'm stepping up into a role that was created for me before birth, and that I'm, you know, shoes I'm now blessed to fill. One of the things that's really nice is my grandfather, my mother told me, would come home, and every Friday night he would empty all the change from his pockets, and he had a row of tzedakah boxes. They called them in Yiddish or German pushki, because you push the pennies or coins in. And this was a Jewish tradition all around the world to have these wonderful tzedakah boxes that were for charities that people you'd never meet in places you'd never go, but he had a whole row of them. He must have had 25 of them. And he would give the children the coins. So when Mari or Yehuda Leib gets a gift, a money gift, I give part of it, I get in quarters, and every Friday night we take the quarters and we put them in different boxes. So we have 4 boxes. We have 2 boxes that go to Jewish National Fund. One goes to the Boston office because it has my uncle's name on it, and it's from the 40s or 50s, and another one has our name on it. And then there's a box for Chabad. That's one somebody gave him. And then there's one that says Jerusalem on it. That's a 19th century Bukharan box. So in Hebrew, tzedakah doesn't mean charity. Charity is a Latin created word from caritas, meaning caring. In Hebrew, the word tzedakah comes from the derivative tzedek, which means, or tzaddik, which means a holy person or a righteous person. The Jewish charity it's not a correct word, because it's not charity. It's being righteous, and it's emulating the Creator's gift to us. So the more that we can behave to emulate the Creator, the more we rise in our divinity rises within us. Well, I think, my son is very little, and so it's he's going to turn 1 on Friday. So right now, what was important was getting him to hear the songs, to be familiar with the candles, the bread, that Daddy's home, that night, Friday night, is different, that the work week is over, Daddy's going to be with you all day, I don't use the phone, I don't really drive, I don't engage in any work conversations, that's a sacred day, and it's for us to share. Jewish education has made tremendous strides in how, I learned it all, but it wasn't taught, it was taught really dry. It wasn't, and certainly like the Kabbalistic meanings or the spiritual level meanings, like why do you light Shabbat candles? So why do you light Shabbat candles? I asked my mother, why do you light Shabbat candles? Because my mother lit Shabbat candles. Unsaid, you do it. What do you need? You don't need to ask me why. This is what you do. So, of course, a child says, well, I don't want to do it. Why do I have to do it? Why do I have to be home? I have to stay in the room, the candles, I can't leave the candles lit, so just not light them. Or, this is interfering with my going out, instead of figuring out how to embrace it. Well, the answer is that a candle burns a physical line in the air. It burns the oxygen. So you're physically separating the sacred, the mundane from the sacred. Now, if somebody had told me that when I was 10 years old, I would have said, this is cool, really? We're creating, we're drawing the space and, science and all that stuff. Let's light the candles. I would be excited about it. So some of the things you do without question, because God did things without question for us. So that's the meaning. We're in a world of action, so the Jewish response to forgiveness is really doing something about it. With your forgiveness, you have to modify your behavior. And so the action is as closely tied. The prayer is important, because it spurs you to action. But without action, it's meaningless. You can't just walk in and you don't get cleansed by the responsive prayer of the action. You get cleansed, you get forgiven, but you're not really achieving a change, tikkun olam, repairing the world, unless you make the change in your behavior. And if you make the change in your behavior, it's the, what's the theory? The butterfly, butterfly's wings flap, and it's heard all around the world. So we do have great capability. One voice, one action can make great change. So that's really the concept. It's very clear in Hasidic thought that there is, you come back, and you're ever refining your soul until God, we say Hashem, the name, you've completed your journey. It's not an issue for me. I know that there's a continuity. First of all, honoring your father and mother. It's in the Ten Commandments. It's there's just no question what you do. Two, the whole Jewish ethic of being righteous. That it's not charity. It's justice. The other word, tzedakah, is justice. So it's justice you shall pursue. That right and righteousness and a righteous person and quote charity are all the same word. So it's embedded that this is what you do. I wish that he would look at our whole family history, mine, my grandfathers, my mothers, my fathers, and take the best out of all of it and pass that forward.